do we choose to have a society of kind of sexless, incredibly like online,
placid soy people?
Yeah. I mean, it is possible that the sex recession, so-called, is partly hormonal. It's partly caused by, it might partly be caused by women being on hormonal birth control, which is changing their sexuality. It might also be caused by men being lower T.
So the low testosterone for men, do you want to hear my real horseshoe theory for this?
Okay.
Right. So I learned this whilst talking to Dr. Sarah Hill, who wrote This Is Your Brain on Birth Control. And she taught me that male testosterone levels are mediated by the fertility of the women in their local ecology. So if you were a male in their 20s, but you happen to be around a bunch of other men or a bunch of other grandmothers, perhaps, or a bunch of children, your testosterone levels drop.
Interesting.
And what you have are women who are very highly artificially suppressing their fertility. So men are able to smell the t-shirt of a woman and be able to pick the one that they're most attracted to is the one who is currently at that stage of her cycle. She's currently fertile, etc., etc. They've done studies where men watch women's silhouettes walking, and the women who are currently during their 7-day you can get me pregnant period, they're the ones that they're most attracted to. The fucking silhouette of the way they walk displays
and high heels replicate that. That's the idea. The high heels make you walk in that distinctive
jiggle
way,
in that way.
That make you look
so
like you're
you have this
ovulating.
recursive feedback loop of hormonal birth control causes women to select for men who are more providers rather than protectors. They want provisioners, right? They want the academic and the resources more agreeable. They then either come off or don't come off birth control, but find that they come out of this fucking hormonal fugue state. Oh my God, who am I in a relationship with? But you also have this effect on men too, not only socially I noticed that lots of women seem to be attracted to Timothée Chalamet, who's painting his nails and kind of blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
The genuine physiological hormonal response to men just being around lots of women who are on hormonal birth control. Now, processed foods, not enough time outside, not enough time with vitamin D, not enough time with friends. But there's a big X factor, apparently, amongst testosterone researchers who don't know why men's T levels have dropped the amount that they have, right? It's about 1% a year, every year since, I think, 1950.
Wow.
So it's like, and then that goes to 100, and then it's that again, and it goes to 100. So it's not how we're in minus fucking testosterone soon. But so hormonal birth control has a lot to answer for, I think.
It's a really tricky trade-off, isn't it? Because there are clear downsides to having a bunch of low T men in terms of fertility, in terms of men and women just fancying each other and like having functional relationships. But also, like, high testosterone is also associated with crime and violence. So do we choose to have a society of kind of sexless, incredibly like online,
placid soy people?
Yeah, who also are quite chill.
Yeah.
Don't cause like enormous problems. I don't know. That's like a genuinely hard thing to choose.
Yeah, you could almost look at it kind of like disposition, sterilization.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah, but
then we had problems with like this is a real problem with the military. I'm sure you know, like massive recruitment problems.
I thought that was because everyone's fat and got diabetes.
Well, that too.
Right.
But also not being interested in it.
Men just don't want to wage war.
Yeah.
We can do it from Modern Warfare or I'm on Reddit.
It's probably also partly to do with lack of like faith in the nation, like being less patriotic in general. Like the pool of potentially great soldiers just gets smaller every year. And it's sort of fine, I guess, we get away with it because if we're not actually in a hot war and if we have loads of technology. But you can imagine a scenario where that becomes an enormous problem. Like a mass mobilization. I don't know how we'd actually fare.
The Chinese government banned K-pop. Do you see this? Because they didn't want, what was it they called them? It was like sissy men. We don't any more sissy men. Yeah. So it was all of the Chinese male role models were like super high T jacked dudes. And they didn't want this BTS like soy like culture infecting them. That's what they saw it as. Something
I learned about that from I had a Rana Mitter, who's a professor of Chinese history and politics at Oxford, on my podcast. I didn't know this. In China, there's a very strong association between communism and masculinity. And actually, it's the old pre-communist, like Confucian soy boys, basically, you know, the sort of like intellectual, indoorsy
Right.
that's associated with pre-communist China. And so some of the reaction against feminization through K-pop or whatever is associated with anti-communist feeling.